Hello, assalamu alaikum. How are you? Today we are going to discuss from this slides, and the topic is managing the strategy, and in which we discuss about the strategy and types and problem, policy, procedures, and so many other things. So in this slide, we have problems and decision. Structure problem is basically the problems which are clear and familiar and repeated problem. And these are the problems which are solved by the lower management, because the lower management are not that much capable and that much trained and skilled, so that's why in organization they are copying or they are handling these types of problems. And then we have problem decisions, program decisions. And then we have program decisions, in which program decisions is basically decisions which are we taking repetitively, and these are handled by day to day. So these are the decisions which are taken by the lower management and lower employees, and because as I told you, they are not that much skilled, that much trained, so that's why they are handling with these type of problems, and these type of decisions are taken by the lower management or lower staff. And then we have the type of program decisions, in which we have three categories. The first one is policy, the second is procedure, and the third is rule. So these are the things which are set by the top management, which are decided by the top management, and the only thing is due by the lower management is to follow them. So in this way, they can easily solve these all issues or copy these all problems, because they are not that much experience or skill. So it's really important to get to guidelines or get to instruction by their top management. So after getting the experience, they ultimately move to the top positions, and as the organization hierarchy is. So policy is basically journal guidelines for making decisions, in which if we are facing any problem, so we have some journal guidelines. So for example, in any restaurants, if the employee mistakenly split the coke on the coat of customers, so there must be some policy for it, because it's the day-to-day experience, because we are human and we do mistakes. So the policy of any restaurants to do cleaning or washing of coat by the restaurant free of cost. And how we are going to do this is basically the procedure. It's the systematic steps, what we are going to do, and what the procedure. So policy is basically applying of procedure. Procedure is basically the application or implementation of policy. So there is a lot of example in our day-to-day life, and the organization and an organization facing so many problems on the daily basis, which they are thinking uh, we can experience. So they made policy for it, they made rules for it, uh, they made some procedure and guideline how we are going to do it. And then we have a rule. A rule is basically explicit statement that limits what some manager or employee can and cannot do and carry out the steps involved in a procedure. So basically, rule is what the organization and what the lower manager and what the subordinate is going to do. So if the employee and the or waiter split the coke on the court, so uh, he is going to um, wash it, but not purchase a new coat. So this is what he has to do or what he has no to do. So and if we are doing some sort of shopping from any mart or any shopping mall, so if we are not satisfied from print or from fabric, or we have some issues in size or whatever, so the policy is that they return the or they exchange um, the item which we purchase, but they are not going to pay or give return our payment. So because these are the rules, they have authority to exchange or exchange or replace the item, but they can't do this um, to return the payment to the customer. So rules is basically what the employee can do and cannot do. So this is the type of program decisions, and then we have policy procedures and rule example. So policy is basically accept all customer return merchandise. So we can accept the returns merchandise, and the procedure how we have to accept it. Um, mm, um, all the luxury items basically in the US, they are considered a customer god and king. So all the when the customers are purchasing the dresses for prawn party, and they are quite expensive, and they are one time use. So when they purchase it, they wear it, and then they return it to the um, uh, shopper from to the shopping mall from where they purchase it. So in this way, the organization is facing a huge loss, some billion or trillion loss. So I don't remember the exact figure. So so what they do for it? So they put some tag on it, some black tag, black shopper tag on their clothes. Um, they tag it on some visible place, like on a neck or like on some backside. So they accept the return if the tag is not removed, and if the customer removed it, so they don't accept the return. So in this way, because if the individual wear the clothes, so definitely they remove the tag, and if they don't remove the tag, so it's so weird to uh, wear wear the clothes or shoes or bag with the tag of the company. So in this way they save a lot of money. So policy is that they accept the merchandise, and procedure is, what is the procedure? Procedure is that, so the clothes are in good condition, and every company, every organization have their own rules and regulation, and they check the condition of merchandise, and they check the tag is on the clothes or whatever the policy and the procedure of the organization. And then rule, they refund in this, they write they refund the $50, and but credit purchased are refunded, no credit purchase are refunded for cash, but credit purchase are not returned for for cash. If anybody purchase on credit card, so they are not giving them the cash in return. So these are the rules. So what they can do and what they can't do. So this is the example of policy, procedure, and rule. Then we have problems and decisions. So in problem and decision, we have unstructured problem and non-programmed problem. Basically, these are the problem which are handling by the manager, which are handling by the top manager. So because they are unusual, they are weird, and they are unique, they are not repetitive problems, so they are coped or they are solved by the top manager because they are enough experience, they have skills, they have intellectual intelligence, so they can, because they are experienced many situations, many things in their life. So unstructured problem and non-programmed decisions. So these are the problems and these are the decisions which are taken by the top organization, and these are the because they are unusual and ambiguous problems, so these are solved by the top management. So in this these are the problems, these are the problems which are customer based, which need customer based solution. So and non-programmed decisions are unique on non-repetitive and non-occurring, and they are in nature, they are unique so our top management are basically experienced skills, so they already handle many these type of situation and things. In this way they have a lot of experience to handle and to cope these type of situation. And then we have to um, type of problem, type of decision, and level in the organization. In one diagram they covered all the thing. In there we have non-program decision, and here we have program decisions. So non-program are handled by the top management, as I told you in the previous slide, and they are unstructured and they are unprogrammed, and they are unique and they are non-repetitive, and these are the program decisions which are well structured, and they are handled by the lower management. So level of organization, here is the top and here is the lower, and type of problem, this is the unstructured problem and this is the well structured problem. So these are the things which is going on in the organization. So then we are on the next slide, in which we have conditions. So, what are the conditions and what are the things in decision making? So, the first thing is certainty. Certainty is basically the ideal situation in which a manager can make an accurate decision. The outcome of every alternative is known. So we are certain, we are well aware, and we are known the possibilities of decision. We know if we take this decision, so this is going to be happen, and we are aware of the result and the consequences. So that's why it's called the certainty. So some decisions are very certain, are very secure, and are very low risk and familiar and good. So so in this decision we have a minimum risk factor, and then we have risk, a situation in which manager is able to estimate the likelihood, means probability of outcome, the result from the choices of the particular alternative. So in this we have to we can just make a guess, or we can just estimate the possibilities and likelihood of the outcomes of the consequences of particular decision or the alternative which we choose. So there is always a risk in this decision. We have always a risk. So we have so many type of decision. In some decision we know that if we do this, so this is going to be happen. So and in the risk, so in the risk and in some decision we have risk. If we take the example of decision making conditions, so if we invest in the stock market, so we have risk. We are doing investment on the risk basis. We are estimating the consequences. We are assuming if we invest in this market share, so maybe we will get the profit of 1 billion, 1 crore, and few lakhs. But if our estimation and if the probability and if the guess are wrong, so we can face the loss too. So it's very risky. It's very risky. So and if we take the example of any patient in the hospital, so before every surgery, before every operation, so the doctor is take the signature from the guardian of a patient, which take the responsibility and give the permission for surgery, because there is risk. They are saying that there is 5% chance of success, and there is 1% chance of saving. So there is risk. So they are doing or they are taking decision on risk, on probability, on the consequences. But if we take the example of certainty, so in this we are know what is going to be happen. If we invest in any if we sign any agreement with bank, and they said if you are going to do the agreement of 6 months of 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 5 lakh, so in the end of 1 year or in the end of 6 months, you are going to be that much profit. So we are sure about it. We are known that if we have at this movement we have 1 lakh, so at the end of the year or at the end of the 6 months, this is converted into the 1.5 lakhs. So there is no risk. They are safe and secure, and everyone have their own personality. Some leaders are like to take a risk, but some are taking a safe decision. And it's also depend on the condition, financial position of the organization. So then we have uncertainty. Basically uncertainty is limited or information prevent estimation of outcome probabilities for alternative associated with the problem, and may force manager to rely on intuition, hunches, and gut feelings. So in this the manager is basically take the decision on intuition, on gut feeling, what he or she feel about the decision. He is thinking, it is good to do this or not. So they are taking decision on the basis of intuition, on the basis of feelings. And then we have, there is three things: maximum, maximax, maximum, and minimax. So maximum is optimistic manager tries to maximize the maximum payoff. Basically, maximum is basically the manager which is positive uh, thinker and see the thing in the good way and positive way. So they are, he is also try to maximize the payoff, maximize the payoff, choices to maximize the maximum payoff. Maximum payoff yani means maximum uh, outcome. So he is also trying to maximize the payoff. So if he is taking the decision, so he consider the positive aspect of it. If he think this decision will going to be if it giving to be that much of profit, so he is going to take that decision, and we think in the positive way. And maximum is the pessimistic manager tries to maximize the minimum payoff. So in this, they are choose or take a decision in which they minimize the payoff. So they minimize the payoff, they minimize the consequences. So they are trying to, if they are thinking that if in any decision he or she think that this is the risk factor, so they are considered, they are their focus is on the risk factor. So they are minimum risk taker because they can, they are thinking that anything can be happen, any loss we can face. So because he is pessimistic. And then we have mini max. The manager tries to minimize his maximum regret. So if we do any if we take any sort of decision, so it has regret effort too, regret effect too, because it's not important every decision is turn out in a good way and give a good result. So maybe we lost something and we do some losses. So in this way we have regret too. For example, if I invest in any stock market, and maybe I have three options, A, B, C, and I choose the A, in my judgment and according to my judgment and experiences. And after a few years, I saw that the share C is in the profit, and I get some normal profit from the share A. So I have some regret to if I invest on the C, so I get the maximum profit. So basically, minimax is and regret paid off is basically the loss opportunity. I'm regretting because I lost the opportunity, and I choose not the best alternative. So this is also consider before taking any decision. And then we have payoff matrix. So in the here we have S1, S2, S3, and S4, and CA is basically visa. Basically, we have two type of credit cards. The first one is Visa marketing Visa, and the second is Mastercard. So these are the credit cards which are in the US. So they give as the example of this. So we have S1, S2, S3, and S4, and we have CA, C2, and C3, and they give some values, and payoff matrix is basically, if we take the strategy one, so we can get this points, and if we choose the strategy um, two, so we get these points, and this is the strategy three, and this is the strategy. So we have choices, and is alternative, and there we have CA1, CA2, and CA3. So we are choose from the one, and then this is the payoff matrix, means outcome matrix, consequences matrix, and then after it, regret matrix. If we choose the strategy one, so we have if we choose this one, so we have regret of 7, I think 6, and if we choose this one, so we have regret of 10, and if we choose this one, so we have no regret, because this is the highest one. So, and if we choose the strategy 2, so if we choose the 15, so we have no regret, but if we choose the 6, so uh, we have to some 9, I think so. Some 15 minus 6 is basically how much? 4 and 5. Some 9 points, 9 points regret, and if we choose the 10, so we have 5 number of reflex. So this is the things work like. We choose any strategy, we take any decision, and we have some alternative. And if we choose the best alternative, so we have no regret. But if we don't choose the best alternative, so we have some regrets. Then we have the decision making style. So every leader have their own style. Some, because it's depend on the personality and mindset and upbringing of individual. Everyone take decision in different way. If we give the 5,000 or two, three individual, so everybody invest the money in their own way. So we have way of thinking in this. We have rational thinking, and orderly and consistent thinking, and intuitive, creative, and unique. So some are more creative, and some are more rational. Some think in a unique way. Some are something in logical way. Then we have tolerance for ambiguity. So some have low tolerance because they are not used to with unusual things. So they are consistent and more persistent, so that's why they have low tolerance. And high tolerance is multiple thoughts simultaneously, because they are seeing the things in more broad way. So they have high tolerance. And low tolerance are those who can't tolerate unusual and unique things, because they are believe on the consistency and discipline. Army peoples are most like them that. And then we have the type of decision maker: directive, analytic, conceptual, and behavior. Directive is basically use the minimum information, and consider few alternatives because they are more consistent in their decision making. So they believed uh, on the they believed on directive decisions. So then we have analytic. Analytic is basically taking decision carefully, because in unique decisions, because they analyze the facts and figure. Um, so so they analyze the facts and figure. They do analysis. They analyze the decision in many way, in many situations. So in this way they are taking the decision. Then we have the conceptual. Conceptual is basically maintain a broad outlook and consider many alternatives in making a long-term decision. So they are seeing the decision in a broad outlook, and consider many alternatives. So they explore all the alternatives because they are taking the long-term decisions, and it has a huge effect and dramatic effect on the organization. So this is the conceptual decision. Then we have behavior. Behavior is basically um, so avoid conflict by working well with other. So because it's a behavior, so they are avoiding conflict with other. They are doing well in their decisions, or they are working and being receptive to suggestions. So and if anyone give the suggestion and ideas and thoughts, so they consider it. So this is the behavior decision. Some leaders are behavior, and some are based on the conceptual, and some are analytic, and some are directive. So I think, in my opinion, analysis is very important because we have to consider in this modern world. We have to consider the facts and figure, because without analysis we can't take any decision. And behavior, we have to take the suggestion from our subordinates. So because it's very important. Then we have to diagram, in which we have four boxes, and we have analytic and directive, conceptual, and behavioral. And this is the high, and this is the low, and this is the rational, and this is the intuitive. So here we have tolerance for ambiguity. So analytic, we have high tolerance because they are facing unique and unusual things. Trends are changing very quickly, and customer and environment things are shifting very fast. So they have high tolerance for ambiguity, but directive have low tolerance because they are consistent, they are ordered, and they are believe or on the persistency and discipline type persons, that readers, so they have low tolerance. And conceptual have also high tolerance for ambiguity because they are exploring the a lot of alternatives, and in exploring many alternatives they are seeing, they are facing so many situations. So in this way they have high tolerance. And then we have behavior. In behavior they have the low tolerance. So because they are avoiding the conflicts, and they are taking the suggestions, so they have low tolerance for ambiguity. They because in tolerance, in ambiguity we have conflicts. We have we are facing some sort of uh, conflict, and in behavior the leaders are avoiding the conflict because in this way they are working well and avoid the conflict. So they have low tolerance for ambiguity. Then we have way of thinking. There is a rational and there is an intuitive. Analytic and directive are thinking in a rational way because they are based on the facts and figure. So of course here is a logical way of thinking, and directive is also they are following the direction. So there is also a rational thinking. And conceptuals they are exploring so many alternatives. So everything is not solved by the facts and figure and rational thinking, and some things we have to use our common sense and our intuition and our good gut feelings and behavior, because the behavior is very complex thing. So it's not solved by the facts and figure and logical thinking. We can predict the thing, we can take decision intuitively. So these are the things which everyone have which type of leader they are. And then we have common decision making error and biases. So there are some biases and some errors. So overconfidence. So sometimes when we are taking good decisions and they are successful, so we become overconfidence sometimes. Immediate gratification. So immediate gratification is that sudden thankfulness and anchor effect. Anchor effect is basically anchor is basically securing anchor effect. So we are taking decision on the basis of anchored. And then selective perception. So we select the information, we select the things wisely. And confirmation, and we confirm the things, we do the confirmation. So and then we have framing. We frame the thing in this way, which and we give the priority in this way with biases. So we frame or present the thing in this way and select according to it. Availability, and we select the those things which are available, which are most nearest, and which are recently go through. So we do uh, decision on the basis of availability and representation. So we have representation. Um, we take the decision on the basis of representation too, and randomness, and we take the random decisions too, and sunk cost. Sunk cost is basically the cost which we lost, and in the for example, if we take the if any manager take the decision and he lost some money and some thing. So it doesn't mean if we failed in thing in one attempt, so we don't rethink about it again, because failure is the name of success. So the decision maker is always remember that we lost in this investment or we lost in this domain, so we don't rethink about it. So they are taking the future decision on the basis of this mindset. So I think if we fail in one attempt, so we have to try uh, next time. So some causes is also bias and error decision maker reason. So self-serving. So the decision maker also think that I take the decision self good, and the failure and mm, the failure of decision he blamed for the outside factor. Hindsight, he take the decision on hindsight. So these are the errors which manager do before in making decision making. So so in book they are discussed them in uh, briefly, so you guys can read them and get the more good clarification and understanding of these things. So then we have to actually they are briefing we brief them short in the coming slides. So heuristic, using the rule of thumb to simplify decision making. Rule of thumb means chain of command, basically. So they take the decision in heuristic way, in chain of command, and overconfidence biases is basically holding unrealistically positively of oneself, one's performance. So they are holding the very unrealistically positive view of oneself. They are thinking that I'm doing well, I'm a good decision maker. I mean, and he don't consider the feedback and the idea of others. So this is the overconfident ones too. He don't listen the suggestion of others. So because he is overconfident, so that's why. And immediate gratification by choosing alternative that other immediate reward and that to avoid immediate cost. So we choose the decision which give the immediate reward and avoid the immediate cost. So this is also the wrong decision. If we get the direct reward and we avoid the immediate loss, so it's not good. In many situations, we face the immediate loss, and in after some time, after we pay for cost, we get multiplied profit from that decision. So this is also the biased and error in decision making. Then we have in the next slide. In the next slide, um, we have the anchoring effect, fixating on initiative information and ignoring the subsequent information. So um, previously, which decision we take and are successful, so uh, we are fixating on initial information. So fixed our we are fixed or stand on the initial information and ignoring upcoming or subsequent information. So this is also the wise and error. So then we have selective perspective, selecting organization and interpreting event based on the decision making biased perception. So we selecting and organizing the event which are based on the decision maker biased perception. So we are doing the selection and interpreted the event in this way. In this way, uh, in this way, in the favorable way, if we want to select it. So we have selection bias too. So because of it, many organizations don't on CV or on the before interview they don't ask for name. And if we take the example of it, so many university are not giving the option of name of the student in the paper. So because they are thinking if the teacher read the name of the student, so they do the grading on the basis of the image or the image or perception about student, and maybe they do some uh, they do grading wisely. So this is also selection bias, selection perception. So we are doing it. So confirmation bias, seeking out information that reaffirm past choices and discounting contrary information. So they are seeking the information which reaffirm the past choices, mm, and discounting contrary confirmation. So contrary means conflicting information. So they are favors uh, all those choices, all those past experiences which are in the favor um, of their decision, of their alternative, and they are rejecting the contradictory information, conflicting information. Then we have framing bias. Framing bias is basically selecting and highlighting the certain aspect of the situation while ignoring the other. So we are select or highlight all those situations which are favorable in certain situation and rejecting the other. And then availability bias is basically losing decision making objectivity by focusing on the most recent event. So in some way, this is beneficial, but in other way, it has consequences and it has bad effect too. So they are taking decision in a way which are they are considering the recent event and ignoring the other things. And representation bias, drawing analogy and seeking identical situation when none exist. So they are make the analogy and seeing the identical situation, seeing the same situation when none exists, when when the when nothing is exists. And then we have randomness biases, creating unfounded meaning out of random event. So in this situation, the manager is basically creating meaning from random situation. So then we have some cost error, and then we have self-serving error, self-serving bias, and hindsight bias. So some cost error is basically forgetting the current action can't influence past event and relate only to future consequences. In this, we are the manager is again and again recalling the past events. So they are not thinking that this event is not relate with the future with this decision, and it has no effect on it has no effect on it. So in this, they are stuck in the past loss, and they are which influence their present and future decision making. Self-serving biases. Self-serving biases is basically taking quick credit for success and blaming outside factor for failure. So in this way, the manager is taking credit for the success, and if he or she facing any failure, so he blame the outside forces, outside factor. So then we have the hindsight bias. Hindsight bias is basically mistakenly believe that an event could have been predicted once the actual outcome is known. So, doing the mistake that the event have been predicted once the actual outcome is known. So, the actual outcome, we know the actual outcome, but they are predicting it. Mistakenly believe that the event have been predicted, and once the actual outcome is known, so they are thinking that this event is predictable and the actual outcome is known. So they are doing this bias too. And we have some guidelines from making decision in today and contemporary and modern world. Guideline for making decisions, so known when it's time to call it quits. So we have to know that this decision, we take this decision, but now it's time, we have to quit it now. It's not a good decision, we have to um, exit it. So sometimes we take the wrong decision, but we are stick with it because of commitment and because the escalation of commitment. And practice the five whys. And we have to know why we are doing this. What is this? What the reason of it? So five whys. We have to practice the five whys. Be an effective decision maker. We have to be effective decision. And be an effective decision. Habits of highly reliable organization. So um, are not truckled by their success, so we cannot truckle it by their success, and defer to the expert on different line. So and let unexpected circumstances provide a solution. So unexpected we have to provide a solution from unexpected event. Embrace complexity. We have to embrace the complexity, anticipate and also anticipate their limits. We have to predict the consequences and outcome of their limits. And then we have characteristics of effective decision maker, in which we have to focus on important, we have to logical and consistent, we have to acknowledge both the subjective and the objective thinking, and blend the analytic and intuitive thinking. So we have to rely on intuition and plus on the facts and figure. And we have to analyze the information and particular dilemma. And we have to gather the relevant information, explore all the uh, alternatives. So and we have to reliable and straightforward and easy in the way and more flexible. And this is the overview of manager decision making, in which they are summarized all the things which they are covered in their chapter. In first box, we have three things, in which are the decision making approach, in which we have rationality, bounded rationality, and intuition. So rationality is basically the logical approach and more rational approach. And bounded rationality, we have limited options, and we are limited and we are stuck in them. And intuition is basically the good and the feelings. So then we have decision making error and biases, which we discussed. And then we have the decision best alternative, in which we have maximizing, satisfying, implementing, and evaluating. And the third box, we have decision maker style, in which we have directive, analytic, conceptual, and behavior. These are the styles. And conditions, in which conditions we are taking decision. Sometimes we are in a certain, sometimes we are in risk, and we are sometimes we are in uncertain condition. Now in the pandemic we are uncertain, we are facing uncertain condition. And type of decision making and problems in which we have well structured and programmed decisions, and then we have unstructured and non-programmed decisions. So this is the end of chapter, and we will hope you guys are getting some concepts from this lecture and this session. And if you guys have any queries, so you can ask on the WhatsApp group and call me directly. And in the next session we will start the next chapter, inshallah. And see you soon. Khuda Hafiz. Take care.